morning, Central Texas. Welcome to KISS Community Connections, 103.1 KISS FM. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host for this morning. And you know what? Y'all know I don't like this weather. I want my 40 degrees. I don't know what I got to do to get it, but then don't tell me to go to Alaska either, because it's not cold there either. So I want my 40-degree weather. But anyway, we're going to talk this morning. I have two lovely guests, and neither one of them have ever been on the radio before, so we're going to have a lot of fun. They're looking at me like, oh my God, what is she going to do? But first, it's my soapbox time. Yesterday in the paper, and some of us found out on Thursday or Friday in the paper, we have one of our justices of the peace, Dr. Claudia Brown. Her son was pulled over on Elms Road. And he was driving on the rim part, so there was the little sparks flying. He was driving, kind of crazy, but the police stopped him. I passed a breathalyzer, but they say his eyes were still glassy looking. He has some prescription drugs in his car. All of it's in the paper. But what we learned was that morning that she arraigned her own son. So what I've heard is a bunch of, she need to lose her job. She's got to be crazy. But you know what? Let's look at the other part about this. As a parent, there are times when we're going to do anything we got to do for our child. We know this. We know. And sometimes if you see your child in trouble, such as I'll say she did, let's get into her shoes a little bit. She's a justice of the peace. Their job, yes, when you get in trouble, they give you a bail and you go. Well, let's be common. Let's have some common sense. We know who gets the highest bails. We know African-American males' bails are higher than anybody else's. And they tend to throw the book at us a little more than anybody else. When she ran, those are some of the things that Dr. Claudia Brown stated, is the fact that she didn't like that. And that was going to be something she was going to work toward stopping, because she can't stop it by herself. But one of the things that she wanted to bring out. So let's say if your son did get arrested, you were the judge. She gave him bail. She did. She didn't let him go without, smack your hand. She did what she did. But I can say, if we look at it, we can say that she did it because she knew if he had seen someone else, he might have got more as something unreasonable. He might have got something more. Now, yes, go back. Yes, her job did say, according to her duties of what she did, she couldn't do what she did. She can't, arraign a relative or somebody in the court. Yes, they did say that. But, every now and then, mothers, we do things that might not sound too good, but we'll do them anyway for the sake of our child. So when we look at this, we need to look at the whole outlying picture, but we need to look at the other pictures, her son. Nobody's looked at that part. I read Facebook yesterday a little bit. People calling on the phone, talking, but nobody looked at the fact that her son is in trouble. Think about it. If you're driving down the street and your rims is hitting the pavement, that means there's sparks flying and your car is not driving exactly straight and smooth. If you're not paying attention to it, something's wrong. If you got prescription drugs in your car, as we know, prescription medication mixed with anything can be deadly. Heck, you can mix some prescription drugs with a Pepsi and it's deadly. But, they can be deadly. And the reaction to them is something that we don't know. So I would ask some men, and I'm talking to men now, where are you at to go see what's wrong with her son? Well, where are you? Where are you to see? Because to me, if you pay attention to what she was doing, she was acting as mother, father, and judge. She was all three people yesterday when she saw her son come before her. She was all three people. So I'll say, let's go tackle the problem. Let's go find her son. Let's go see what's up with him. Yes, he's older. He's 55 years old. And you might say he knows better, but I don't think there's anybody on earth that you could ever say they're old enough to know better. You might assume they're old enough to know better, but certain things sometimes can take control and you don't know better. Sometimes things happen and your better judgment is gone somewhere. So I'll ask the men who are listening, not the women, because women, we are in charge and we only going to give it back when men stand up. Yes, I said that. Men, if you stand up, we'll sit down. But so far you're not standing, so we're still going to stand. But men, reach out to her son. Find out what's up. See what's going on. Because that's a load on her that she's bearing by herself. So I'm just asking some men, while you're criticizing and you've basically put her in jail under the jail or whatever, reach out to the problem and see what it is. See if her son needs help. He might just need it. Is he going to ask for it? Come on, please. He's an African-American male, 55 years old. You think he's going to ask for help? Not. he's not. And Karen is sitting there shaking her head, no. And Lacey, she's like, no, he's not. He's not going to ask for help. So what about some men? You going over there and say, hey, let's go have lunch. Let's just go talk. Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's just go and see what happened. What happened with that? Why are we so fast to assume that we know all the facts and assume we know what's going on in everybody's head? And sometimes we need to look at the underlying issue. And the issue is not so much of what she did. Yes, that is a big issue, but that's not so much the issue. It's what her son was doing. It's what was going on with him. So maybe, just maybe, you know, every now and then when you analyze something, you sit back and look at it. Look at her son to see what's wrong with him to have made her do what she did. So maybe we, or I'll say women, we could do it if you men don't, but I'm just saying men, call him up, find out where he is. You know where Dr. Claudia Brown is. You can find her phone number, find her and find her son and say, hey man, let's talk. Let's see what's going on. Because with all that you read about in the paper about him, he was having a problem that night. 2 a.m, he was having a problem, serious problem. A serious problem. He was medicating himself or doing whatever he was doing himself because, as I said, if if your brain is not working correctly, you assume that you're your best doctor, you're your best judge, you're your best everything. Nobody can tell you anything at that point. But all I'm saying is, instead of criticizing Dr. Claudia Brown and the mistake that she made, let's look at the problem and see why she made it. Let's see why she has to act as his mother, his father, and at that time, his judge. So let's talk to him and find out if we can reach out and touch him and stop laying the blame and criticizing so much of her. Because I'll say, she's a mother. There are times when we would do anything for our kids. You've read where parents have said they did some crime that they didn't do, but they did it because they would rather go to jail than their kids. So we know as women, we'll do some crazy things. And men, sometimes you will too. So we need to just look at that. And like I said, men, go talk to her son. Find him. You can find everything else you want to find. Find him, talk to him, and see what help he needs. And then whatever help he needs, help him get it. Just help him get it. And maybe sometimes we can begin to heal things the correct way instead of the other way. We need to find out what really happened. And often 2 times we don't. So that's my soapbox. And I'm going to bust out Joe. Joe said, yep, somebody in trouble. But this is just to say that, sometimes when things happen, we need to go down to the root of the issue, because you can't fix the top. You really can't. You can't polish off and fix the top. You never will. The root keeps growing. You got to take to the root and get rid of the root of the problem, and then the top clears up itself. So that's all I'm going to say about my soapbox. I have 2 ladies in here. They're agreeing with me, shaking their head. Oh, yes. And they might comment on it. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to talk. First, we're going to talk to Lacey. And Lacey's with the Department of Health, correct?
I'm with Bell County Public Health District.
Okay. And what exactly does that do you do under there?
Well, I'm the epidemiologist for the county. Okay. So I deal with diseases.
Whoa.
So okay. all the diseases within the county, that's what I deal with.
All the diseases?
All the diseases.
I'm going to say that word wrong, whatever. The
communicable diseases?
Yeah, that's the word. Yes. I can mess that word up real good. Even those?
Anything that will get you sick, any kind of infectious disease, yes, we deal with. And we have a separate person that does tuberculosis. We have a separate person that does STD. And then we have a separate person that does like perinatal hepatitis B. But everything else falls under my wheelhouse.
Okay. We before the show started, there's always a show before the show that you all don't get to hear. And today, Lacey and Karen never met each other before. They do 2 different jobs, but their jobs intertwine, which is strange. But their jobs intertwine. You'll hear later from Karen. Their jobs intertwine until, at times, from now on, they'll be able to talk to each other, because there's sometimes Karen will say, hey, listen, I know who to call. Lacey sometimes will say, hey, I know who to call, which is great. This needs to be done. But you were talking about the HPV.
The HPV vaccine?
Yes. And you were saying why some people need it and don't realize what it does.
So the HPV vaccine is basically a vaccine to prevent catching HPV, which is human papillomavirus, which ultimately causes cancer, For women, it's the number one cause of cervical cancer is HPV. So getting the vaccine prevents you from developing cervical cancer in the long run. And males getting it, because they typically are carriers of HPV, which means they don't present with symptoms, but they do carry the virus. So later on, they can develop other forms of cancer like throat cancer. And so getting your children vaccinated early prevents them from getting these diseases, which will ultimately prevent them from developing cancer.
Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way down to Karen. You ready for me? I'm not gonna ask you a question yet, but you ready? You ready for what I'm gonna say? I don't want see Karen is sitting in the chair. I don't want her to fall out. No, this is still for you, Lacey, but Karen might fall out the chair. Okay. I'm just saying. Joe is kind of okay. He kind of know there are days when I go way over there and come back. Okay, the throat cancer, and HPV of in the mouth. Mm-hmm. How did that get there?
Well, obviously.
Yes, I did, Karen. Yes, I did.
It comes from oral sex.
Karen said no, she didn't.
Which is, one of those things that we talk about when we talk about HPV and any form of sexually transmitted diseases is we have to cover all forms of sex. So it's not just, normal intercourse. We have, anal sex and oral sex and all of those great things.
Because, too often we don't want to bring that up.
Yeah, a lot of people find it uncomfortable to discuss.
Well, that's when things get worse.
Yes.
When we don't want, Karen was like, I knew she was going to do it. She was ready. But yeah, I mean, too often we lift the carpet and we sweep sweep all over under it. Then we put the carpet back down and pretend it doesn't exist. And then when it gets worse, we want to know why.
And I think that's what we're seeing a lot in Bell County, and why we've created this STD task force that we have. We have a lot of organizations that have now come together. Fort Hood's Communicable Disease Department, our infectious disease nurses from our local hospitals, our school nurses, Bell County Public Health District, Department of State Health Services, Texas Department of State Health Services representatives. We have several groups that have come together to try and deal with this issue, because Bell County is number 2 in the state for gonorrhea and number 3 in the state for chlamydia in case rates. And what that means is we are higher in case rates than Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. So
Bell County.
Yes. So if that doesn't stop you in your tracks, I don't know what else can. So we know we have a problem. And so we're trying to figure out how we can address this issue.
Okay. For a minute, Karen, I need you to jump in and I'll introduce you. Karen is with the Central Texas Youth Services. So Karen deals with our young people. So Karen, you just heard Lacey give those numbers. So what's in your head right now?
I'm enjoying the whole spill on it, because all I can think about is the population that we actually work with, because we offer services to a wide range from 3 to 25. So just thinking of that young adult population who's careless and not getting the care that they need, don't have health insurance, all these things just rolling through my mind of different diseases that can come about. Right. And not having the the HPV shot, when they're young, because they're coming from broken homes and former foster care. So all these things are just rolling in my brain in regards to how this is spreading within our community, and the continuing of this spreading within our community.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask both of you a question now. It's a loaded question. Okay, you got young girls, and I guess our males, who somehow or another, I don't know how, and I don't want to know how they figured it out. I don't want to know, but we need to stop it. Who assume that oral sex is really sex because it's not intercourse. So how do we train them and teach them that no, you still can get these the word I can't say very well, diseases anyway. So Karen, how would you talk to the kids you see?
Generally, we do life skills. So whether it's healthy relationships, healthy living, self-care, implementing, having a doctor to come in or a nurse to come in, because we've done that, to inform them on these type of diseases and things that can go on. So I would say more informing and actually putting it out there, because our community is so hush hush about things.
Right.
So that's the underlining issue.
Yeah.
No one wants to address the actual underlining problem that we have.
Right.
And with what's going on in society, social media taking over, and this generation, our kids are going left.
Right.
So it's a totally different outlook on things when it comes to sex and taking care of yourself and what's new and what's popping, what's trending, more so of caring about posting things on Instagrams, Facebook, and how you dress, and not thinking about taking care of themselves and actually connecting with the youth. It's going to take a village to raise any child.
Right.
But as a community, if we're not putting these things out there and working on these issues, they're going to continue, and they're going to continue to grow. Just as Lacey mentioned, Bell County is number 2 for gonorrhea, and then number 3 for chlamydia. I had no idea.
Yes.
And number
So
25 for syphilis.
25 for syphilis.
25 for syphilis.
We just loving these numbers, aren't we?
Well, I'm not loving these
No,
numbers,
I mean, but you know what I mean.
yes,
We're
loving each other. It seems to be.
Yeah, we're not paying attention.
No, but I completely agree with her. From my standpoint, there, you can't get to anyone. No one's going to know unless you educate them.
Right.
And you have to educate them properly. And I think, as she said, there's so much hush-hushness in our community about not wanting to address these issues, or saying, no, we'll let parents handle that. It's great, for parents who are willing to do that education to their kids. It is great that we have parents that are willing, but we have to address the issue that there are parents that are not willing to have those discussions with those kids. And even I'm only 39, but dating and meeting people is way different than how it is now. Everything's based on social media, and there's so much anonymous stuff going on with meetup, let's meet up, and there's anonymous sex happening, and there's a lot of misinformation about just diseases in general. I have 2 teenagers, and my daughter told me HIV was curable, and I said, no, it's treatable, not curable. There is a big difference between treatable and curable. Treatable means there's medication you can take to keep yourself alive, but it's not curable. You're still going ultimately to die from the virus. So I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of things that maybe kids are just not getting. And they're coming up with things between them and thinking that this is really how it is, and it's not. So I think the biggest thing in our community is getting that information out there and making sure it's correct and that they understand it, and giving it to them in a way that they can hear it and understand it and absorb it.
A lot of the problem also is, I work in elementary school, and you have a lot of elementary school kids, their mother is dropping them off in pre-K at the school, and their mom is walking to high school. Yeah, because that's where she's at. Well, there's she can't educate her child on anything, because she most likely doesn't know. And then you look at sometimes the grandmother picking up the grandchild, and she's not too much older than her daughter who dropped the kid off, who's the mother. So you have a generation, and that would be a 3rd generation, where not only didn't daughter learn, mom didn't know either. So then you end up with a generation family who are all getting the wrong information. So now I'm ask Karen. Karen, me and you are part of the child sex trafficking force.
yes,
And we know Houston is number 1 in the state of Texas.
yes,
And Dallas and Austin aren't too far behind. So based on what Lacey said, we're in a serious problem as far as the HPV and other STDs. That makes a double problem with child sex trafficking.
Well, you have to think about it, Phyllis. We're in the mix.
Yes.
We're in the between.
Yes.
No reason our numbers are so high. We're in between of the trafficking. That we're in between cities. We're in between I-35. We're in between all of this. It's a conjunction of what's going on with sex trafficking, the diseases, as Lacey mentioned, that we have high numbers. Of course, they can hide out in small towns.
Right,
You have all this trafficking coming out and coming through in our small towns, but at the end of the day, how we're going to do something about it.
Right.
How are we going to stop this? How are we going to control this if we can't stop it? How we're going to start the process? So how are we going to reach out to our community, getting our community involved, working with community partners, educating our parents, educating our teachers? I mean, it has to start. But if we're just meeting,
right,
and not being proactive, what's it going to solve?
We're defeating the purpose of existing in that capacity.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're in small communities, but there should be no way that I should not know Lacey.
Right.
And Lacey should not know me.
Right.
So when it comes to partnering with your community partners and working together to fix an issue, this is a start of a process, because we have a big issue. And regardless if we're in a small area, Central Texas or not, it has to be addressed, because it can't blow up even bigger. Not only if we're number 2 and 3 in the state, we can be nationwide. It can get to that point, but we have to put a hold on it.
That's true. So Lacey, I don't know if you still do. It was last year I saw the packet. Y'all had a packet for girls. Do you have one for young men?
I'm not sure. I have to talk to Nina about that. Nina Cobb is our educational outreach person, and she does a lot of the girls rock.
The packet, yes.
And that's what she includes in the packet.
Right.
I know that she does outreach with males, and so I'm sure she probably does the same thing with males as well. But looking at it from the male perspective, so we do try to get out and address each one, because they each have their own special. Right. Needs, so to say.
Right.
You have to talk to the males differently than you talk to females. You have to come at them in different angles, and they care about different things a little bit more.
Correct.
Each different group. So yes, we try to do that and get information out there. And I think that for our young teenagers, it might help. It seems to be helping. It seems that our 18 and older group maybe either didn't get that those packets, or didn't get that information, and so we have that cycle going on in with this older group. So
can I ask you a question? I need for you to make sure Karen gets some of those packets.
Oh, I will.
Because she probably could give out more. She would give out more than maybe anybody else would, because she only deals with children. So she would need some of those packets, so that when she does her program and talks to the girls, and then if you have a packet for the boys, not only will she talk to them, she can say, here, this is yours. This is your packet. For you need to read and study it, along with me telling you this. Because, if I tell you something, okay, but if I tell you something and give you the information, now I got it. I really have it now, because I heard it verbally, now I can read it on my own. I got it. It's sunk in, and is nowhere for me to go but to get better. But I think the meeting of you two together, we can help solve and open doors for a lot of other things. But I need to ask one question. I do a lot of things in Bell County, and that's why I live in Bell County. But when I go to, there's a meeting I go to in Coryell County, which is where we are, and it's an agency meeting. I don't see, not you two, because you two are Bell County, but I don't see any of you two from Coryell County. You see what I mean? I don't see that.
There's a reason.
But now my problem is this. I know there's but my problem is, so do we drop the kids off in Coryell County, or can you two extend if asked?
Well, I know we try to extend to our neighboring counties if they don't have local health departments, because that's the issue with Coryell County. There's no local health department.
Correct.
They rely on state services, and the state covers like 32 counties.
Right.
So we try to extend services. There's a Bell County, as a matter of fact, in Coryell County, there's a Bell County WIC office.
Yeah, it is.
So we do try to do outreach in those neighboring communities that do not have local health departments to help. So yeah, anytime we get asked to do education or anything like that, we are always willing.
Okay, Karen, is there a you existing in Coryell County?
There is not a me that exists in this county, but I do have a case manager that works and lives in this county.
Okay.
She doesn't work in this county. She actually works in Bell County, but she works a lot in the community in this county. But as far as networking and working with Coryell County, that's what our agency is trying to do a little bit more of, because we do have that disconnect with certain counties.
Yes.
Although we offer extended services to all counties in the Central Texas area, but that's what we're wanting to do, connect with the community on a little bit more partnership terms, and also not allow the community to be standoffish or hush-hush about homelessness, neglect, abuse, sexual transmitted diseases, trafficking. You got all type. You even have family members that could be trafficking out of their household, their own children. You know, and you have to be aware of what's going on in your backyard, your next door neighbor. And these are things that are happening. Just a couple got arrested yesterday in Belton for abuse of a young black 14-year-old male. I mean, isolation and neglecting, abuse, and mistreating. And this was adopted young man. So these are things that are happening. And this lady worked for the school district.
Yep, she did.
You know, she worked with special needs kids, and this happened. And she did this in her own home. So no one is off the radar when it comes to me, seeking out help for abused children or looking at them. Not saying I'm looking at everyone as an abuser or a predator, but you have to be aware of what's going on. Not saying it can't happen. Not saying that Phyllis or Lacey is a bad person. Not saying you're a good person, but you have to have the pros and cons about certain situations, and when you're looking into certain areas when it comes to children, you have to pay attention. But if we're not paying attention, we're going to continue to look over the issues that we have.
That's right. That's true.
I don't think you can say just because we're in, Bell County or Courier County and we're a small town that stuff doesn't happen here.
It
does happen.
It does. Yeah, it does. It really does. It does. And I say this a meeting that will be in Carver's Cove. I'll make sure both of you get the information. Well, I usually go to it's every 2 or 3 months. I forgot which one. But when I went the last meeting, and they were all talking about everything, and I mentioned child sex trafficking, and I got this look. You know the look you get?
Like what are you talking about?
Yeah, that look. I got that look.